for this episode of Composers Now Impact. My name is Patricia Wallinga, and I'm a composer and vocalist based here in San Francisco, California. My ethos as a composer is defined by my synthesis of eclectic influences, my love of text and the human voice, and above all, my belief that this often maddeningly solitary profession we've chosen means nothing until we connect with performers who bring it to life and audiences who carry it forward. Let us go then, you and I, into a piece born of a dearly cherished connection of mine. This was written for my collaborator, mentor, and friend, Johann Schrammried. With Taylor Chan on piano, this is a selection from the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock.
Let us go, then you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky, like a patient ether raised upon a table. Let us go through certain half-deserted streets, the muttering retreats of restless nights in one-night cheap hotels, and sawdust restaurants with oyster shells. Streets that follow like a tedious argument of insidious intent to lead you to an overwhelming question. Oh, do not ask what is it. Let us go and make a visit. In the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. The yellow fog that rubs its back upon the window pane, the yellow smoke that rubs its muzzle on the window pane, licked its tongue into the corners of the evening, lingered upon the pools that stand in drains. Let fall upon its back the soot that falls from chimneys, slipped by the terrace, made a sudden leap, and seeing that it was a soft October night, curled once about the house and fell asleep. indeed there will be time for the yellow smoke that slides along the street, rubbing its back upon the window panes. There will be time, there will be time to prepare a face to meet the faces that you meet. There will be time to murder and create, and time for all the works and days of hands that lift and drop a question on your plate. Time for you and time for me, and time yet for 100 indecisions, and for 100 visions and revisions before the taking of a toast and tea. In the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo.
Now, a great text like Eliot's imposes a natural structure on a work. But in instrumental music, without that scaffolding, we have to play our own games. I'm fascinated with established form and convention. I write waltzes, sarabands, even sonata allegro, but I also love to see what newer structures I can play with. Although my music leans tonal and melodic, I'm not afraid to use more experimental forms or harmonies wherever I see fit. Here are excerpts from each of my 2 string quartets, the genre where I'm most likely to get experimental. The first excerpt is from Robin, Stay, the 3rd movement of my first quartet, Murmurs and Murmurations, which is an exploration of different balances of composer control versus performer control, and procedural generation versus through composition. Robin, Stay sounds like this romantic, nostalgic, just slightly hollow waltz. But as you'll see in the score on screen, it operates under this set of choose-your-own-adventure principles. I harmonize the piece twice, and for most of the piece, a static melody plays over a branching path of options for each instrument. The harmonies might be traditional, complex, or oddly empty, depending on each performer's choices during each segment. But in the bridge section, where the excerpt you'll hear begins, the pattern flips. A static harmony lays under a choose-your-own-adventure melody, where each of the 4 parts replies to each other in any order they see fit. The movement of the second quartet, Folded Fortunes, was created under the aegis of the Gabriella Lena Frank Creative Academy of Music and premiered digitally by Del Sol String Quartet in June 2020. I generated the entire piece from this little fortune teller. Did you ever make these? You pick a number, you count it out, count again from the inside, fold open a flap, and there's your fortune. Or in this case, there's the conclusion of the melody. I generated the entire piece just from this little thing. In different transpositions and repetitions that arrive at each possible folded out ending. I've always hoped to add more movements to accompany this, more childhood games transmuted into abstract music, or more uses of pencil and paper explored through the string quartet? Maybe that's next. For now, enjoy these two quartets. Hello from the auditorium of Raoul Wallenberg High School, where I'm working today as a guest music teacher. Right now, we are learning guitar and ukulele. It means the world to me to work with young musicians since I owe so much to the music educators who gave me the tools to get to where I am. I started playing piano at 4 and double bass at 10, eventually joining the Chicago Youth Symphony Orchestra, where I developed a love for the repertoire and an ear for orchestration. As a bassist, we've got too few notes to sweat about our part the entire time, but too many notes to completely zone out. You're forced to listen, so you can't help but learn. You'll hear that orchestration training put to use in the next clip, my reimagining of Fanny Mendelssohn Hensel's Piano Sonata in G minor as a piano concerto. The original sonata is full of these lush, varied textures that already feel orchestral, as if Hensel was already drafting a concerto she never got to realize. With guidance from my collaborator Sharon Sue and many hours of elaborate color coding, I swear there's a system here, I pulled out those textures and filled in the gaps to create something I'd like to think resembles the concerto she would have written. This is an excerpt from the second movement, with Sharon Sue at the piano, backed by conductor Brittany Alcine and the Ballet Russe Arts Initiative. You'll notice a moment in this movement where the colorful orchestration dwindles down to just piano, violin, and cello. This is in reference to Hensel's famous piano trio. Even more than my orchestral training, it was my time in choir that would prove most influential to my composition career. My high school choir directors were some of my earliest supporters. They heard me recording my first little treble choir at Emily Dickinson setting with my friends after school. They asked for the music, and soon enough, our school choir was performing it in a concert for real. I kept writing for choir. They kept asking for the music, and we kept performing it. Without that, I might never have discovered what I was capable of as a composer. Without them, I also wouldn't have ended up in the Notice Contemporary Vocal Ensemble at Indiana University under the direction of Dominic Diorio. You're about to hear an excerpt from Notice's performance of Portraits of Wartime, my exploration of the emotional landscape of World War I that also looks 100 years forward to the conflicts and the changing world of the 2010s. This was my first foray in what's become one of my favorite creative techniques, synthesizing texts from many different sources into one complex, multi-layered story. Portraits samples from Christina Rossetti, Sarah Teasdale, Wilfred Owen, James Joyce, the Book of Ecclesiastes, and a protest slogan used in the revolutions of the Arab Spring. It's ultimately a story of the constant cycles in which the world breaks under conflict, but always, inevitably, hopefully, heals and reforms. You know, it was one of those early high school choir pieces that gave me the moment I first felt like a capital C composer. Not in rehearsal, but in English class the period after, where I heard the girl in front of me humming my piece. She didn't know I was listening. We weren't even really friends. But my music was real to her. I'd made something that meant something to others, even after the last sound faded. In her poem, The Sisters, Amy Lowell imagines herself conversing with the female poets who came before her: Sappho, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, and Emily Dickinson. I recently adapted Lowell's poem as a chamber opera, weaving it together with works from the three other writers to bring those imagined conversations to life. It's that same idea of connection that sits at the heart of this opera: the dream of making art that's as real and lasting to someone else as it is to you. At the end of the poem, Lowell writes, "I only hope that possibly someday some other woman with an itch for writing may turn to me as I have turned to you and chat with me a brief few minutes." It meant the world to me to reach back in the process of writing this opera and, in a sense, chat with Amy, Emily, Mrs. Browning, and Sappho, who by now feel less like untouchable historical giants and more like my old friends. And it's meant so much to me to chat with you on this installment of Composers Now Impact. Thank you to the team at Composers Now for giving me this opportunity, and thank you at home for watching. You can follow me on Blue Sky at pwallinga.bsky.social or get in touch with me directly through my website, patriciawallinga.com. I can't talk about any upcoming projects quite yet, but there are big things in the works for 2026 and beyond. For now, enjoy one last piece of music. Amy and Emily's conversation from the sisters.
To